Yeah. Shit, I'm back. Man, it's been a lot going on in the podcast world. I thought I'd take a second to kind of talk about it. Shout out to everybody that's doing their thing. Um, I've been seeing, if you've been paying attention, there's been a podcast, My Expert Opinion, Math Hoffa's podcast. There's been like a lot of turmoil on that side of things. I think recently they haven't been putting out as many episodes, and people were in the comments trying to ask like, what's going on, trying to figure it out. And apparently, I guess according to Math, he was in the shop, and the lights were off. I guess they lost power, and they didn't have power. I guess he's subleasing the pod location, aka the barbershop, and the owner of the barbershop wasn't really messing with them. So there's been like a lot of back and forth. So they've been kind of on a hiatus, and during this hiatus, one of his co-hosts, Mecca, started to do a low-key a press run going on different podcasts and whatnot, talking about what he has going on and peripherally about what's been going on with My Expert Opinion. And the thing that kind of set everything off is that Mecca ended up going to Bag Fuel as a guest, and Bag Fuel is a podcast ran by Heineken, Esso, and Space Ghost, who all were members of the My Expert Opinion show. And if you've been paying attention, they had a big falling out. They've been going back and forth for the last, year or 2 years, just talking about that particular situation. I thought it was just interesting. I've been watching the episodes, and then they starting to talk about like the origin story of ESSO and Heineken on My Expert Opinion. And it's kind of interesting because their first episode on My Expert Opinion, I was there. And I have not a completely different perspective, but I could add a little bit more color as to my perspective of how things kind of came together. And it's just interesting because, like, the way I look at history is like, for some reason, I'm around when stuff happens, and I feel like I'm like hip hop Forrest Gump. Like why am I there? I don't know why I'm there. It's just like the energy bring me there, whatever the case may be. There's so many instances or certain nuances and stories that I have or stories that I've forgotten where I was there. You know what I'm saying? And I got factual receipts to show that I was there. But, I just wanted to run through this and then just kind of listen to what they were talking about. And I'll just add a little bit more color where I can. And, yeah, let me just see what they're talking about.
My Expert Opinion is where it is, and Brothers is doing Bag Fuel. I can come over here and be a partner completely, knowing I don't have the time, and fuck this thing up and have them looking at me crazy because I can't dedicate what they'll dedicate to it. And I don't know what I can dedicate to it, which was my only hold up. You dig what I mean?
Yeah,
I was loyal to bro. I fucks with y'all. Okay, what am I gonna do?
You was in a weird situation.
And my whole thing was, I can be here and do what I'm doing, but if I come over here, I gotta put in real elbow grease, and I don't know if I even got it like that. And then I got 3 dudes looking at me like, Mac,
what are you doing?
What the fuck?
To be honest, their show never impeded on his show, ever.
No, that's also true. That's also
But
true.
Mecca,
We shoot in the daytime. You know how late he goes.
Yeah, but how?
We in and out of
That's funny because, yeah, they do shoot dumb late. Like, I remember when we shot a couple times, it was damn near 1 o'clock in the morning, bro. Like, this shit was crazy.
an hour.
Yeah, we
did
was
for
gonna sit an
hours.
hour.
It's way different situation.
No, bro, you preaching to the. I'm not.
Yeah, but let me say this, right? I've had a weird situation in my career. Anytime, it looks like I always left at the right time. Every situation I got kicked out of. And it just worked for me. Whereas your situation, even think about what happened with the Source when Benzino and Eminem were going. You're like, oh, this is a powerhouse. It's gonna work. And then this and this and this.
I'm gonna drop a whole bomb on y'all. If Mecca didn't leave that day, I would have never even sat in the chair, in my opinion.
That's true.
People don't even realize that. I wasn't
That
even
day you
supposed
had to go do the work with Buster.
I wasn't even supposed to be there. Mecca came, and he's supposed to sit in the chair, and Mecca had to leave. And Mav said, yo, well, since Mecca's gone and you're here,
That's
Yo,
really literally how it
sit in the
happened.
chair.
How about that?
They said that's how it happened. Okay, let me add a little color to that. So, my perspective of what happened, right? So this is how I kind of came into the fold. I got a call or a text from the homie Fab. She was like, "Yo, do you have any shooters on deck? You know, like cam ops, production folks on deck." I'm like, "Yeah, let me see." So I hit up my dog Josh. Shout out to Josh, owner of Culture Productions. He used to shoot for Joe Budden podcast. He shot for See the Thing Is with Mandy and Bridget. He's done a couple of some other stuff. He's done some production stuff with Spike Lee, which She's Gotta Have It, and just a bunch of other different things, So I hit my dog up. I'm like, "Yo, bro, are you available? They looking for a shooter for My Expert Opinion." And he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Yo, the podcast with Math." And this is how the world kind of comes full circle, right? He's like, "Yeah, I could do it." Oddly enough, right? So, Josh said he could do it. Side note, Josh and Math had a rapport because Josh used to work at a music studio called 906 Music on 8th Avenue, not too far from Port Authority. I used to be in there all the time. We talking about, it's like 2012. And I know Math did some sessions there, and Josh was the engineer, oddly enough. But they never reconciled. I know Josh probably still got some of his songs that Math was asking for because Josh did the hooks on them and all types of stuff. But that kind of transpired. But that's like 10 years prior to this particular situation, which is crazy. But anyway, so Josh goes to, shoot the pod. At the time, from my understanding, Math and Space Ghost. So Space Ghost was the guy that, he's in charge of the video of Bag Fuel. He's 1/3 of Bag Fuel. He was also the shooter for My Expert Opinion. Him and Math weren't seeing eye to eye, and for some reason, I think Math was trying to reach out to Space Ghost. Space Ghost wasn't returning his messages or whatever the case may be, and that was the whole reason that they went outside to kind of look for shooters, and Mecca hit Fab, and Fab hit me, and I hit Josh. So, like, that shows the whole chain of events. Cool. So now we go to shoot, and Josh hits me like, "Yo, can you help with the production?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll pull up." So I pull up to assist with some of the camera operations. Shout out to the homie Rohan, right? Rohan was there as well because we definitely used some of his cameras in the ATEM that he had. So it was me, Rohan, and Josh. So the original cast, when we got there, it was Math and it was Bigger. Yeah, I know Bigger. Bigger's the God-fearing man that was mad big, whatever the case may be. And, a podcast with just Math and Bigger don't even make sense. So I guess Mecca had some stuff to do that day, so he couldn't sit down or what have you. So Math is trying to go through the Rolodex and see who could come through. So he's going through his phone, and apparently he calls Heineken, and Heineken was able to pull up, and I think Esso was with Heineken when he pulled up. So Esso was sitting on the side as a guest, and I mean not a guest of the pod, but like in the background they got people that are guests on the pod, and there's still I think 3 other seats. So at the time it was Bigger, Math, and Heineken, and I'm there doing production stuff. Math was like, "Yo, Esso, can you sit in the chair, whatever, we're going to talk." They mic'd them up, and we did what we had to do. Then there was another seat, and then they was like, "Yo, we need somebody else." And then, dudes was like, "Yo, Dre, go sit down, whatever." I wasn't mic'd up, so on that episode, you don't hear me talk too much because I didn't have a mic. I didn't want to yell, this and the third. I think we was limited with mics. So, oddly enough, I'm there on the episode, and that's kind of how it kind of came together. Funny story though, I knew Esso. I didn't know Esso as a person, but I recognized Esso based off of his appearance on this show called Eight at the Table, which was a popular relationship-based podcast based in New York at the time. And it's funny because the reason I even watched Eight at the Table, I know they went viral quite a few times during that time, but the reason I knew Eight at the Table, the show, is because another homie, one of my homies named Nate, was a cam op on that show. So I watched the show because, my dog Nate was like, yeah, I came up on this show, this and the third, blah, blah, blah. So I checked out the show just to see what he was talking about. And I'm like, oh, then you saw Esso giving his relationship takes and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I kind of came in the fold with knowing who Esso was. So the episode, that I appeared on, and that was the first episode for ESSO and Heineken, was actually this episode right here. Oddly enough, you see me there, you feel me? I got the, the army fatigue on. I think this episode, we talked about the topics were like aliens or like how Viagra helped with COVID. It was super random. And at the time, I think Heineken, if you look back at the episode I was just playing, a bag feel, he was talking about, I came with the topics and this, that, and the third. There were definitely some Heineken-esque topics. But yeah, I keep the receipts, bro. I was there, man. Look.
We had a whole debate on whether good deeds should be talked about or not, so I'm not going to say nothing, but I took some stuff to him because he's under the weather with COVID too. And it's been a lot of saying.
That's me in the back, you saying, sipping.
There may be hope.
Emotional support, you heard?
What you mean? Viagra.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Viagra. COVID thing. I'm confused though.
Bro.
Okay,
Viagra really does that. Why?
Been drilling enough.
Heineken, you see Esso.
Be the key. This shit just came out today,
Bro. But for
this
one,
is
have
the
you
first
ever been to Miami? You ever been down that little river thing that they got out there? Have you ever seen the dude who invented Viagra's his house? It's huge.
Star Island.
So yeah, so that's the episode right there. It's funny too. Another full circle moment that I could talk about, right? So, boom, after we shot this episode, Bigger, you feel me? Big dude, he's like dude in the middle right there. You know what I'm saying? Dude like 6'4", like Aki, like mad big. So he like, he don't really talk too much. He like really chooses his words. And he was like, yo, I saw you before. He pointed at me like, I met you before. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, you like, nah, I never forget a face. He's like, I definitely met you before. So, if you know Bigger, he has a security company. And I think at the time, some years prior or leading up to, me being on this particular broadcast, me and the homies, shout out to the crew, we used to throw parties all throughout New York City. We did some travel groups. We did art exhibitions. We was going crazy. We was up and down the city. If we wasn't throwing a party, we was at somebody else's party going crazy. And I think for one of our parties, I may have hired Bigger, or, somebody may have hired him, and I think that was a relationship. So it's funny. Like, he was like, "Yeah, I remember you, this, that, and the third." And I'm like, "Oh, I think we hired you to do security at one of our events." So it's just funny how everything just comes full circle. And it's just like, yo, it's like somehow you just in the mix with stuff that you see, it seems like you're not even supposed to have a connection to. So I kind of feel like, Forrest Gump in a sense, like, how was I there? And this is like the big point of contention, how they came on My Expert Opinion, how they branched off the bag fuel, all this sort of discord on, whose fault it is and all that stuff. And I'm just there in the back chilling. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like a lot of times I'll be a passive observer in situations that be kind of momentous and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to throw my little take on there. Shout out to everybody that was involved in all of that. I think too, another thing that's kind of interesting is that, me and my homies, like, we've been around for so much stuff, yo. Like, there's so many things, so many people. I got so many stories. The stories I forgot just around some of the greats, some of the legends. I got, low key, man, I got recordings, man, I can't even share because it'll put people in a bad light and stuff like that. Some of your favorites. But, like, we were around for a lot of things, like, but we just don't talk about it. Like, if me and my crew, you know what I'm saying, were, like, clout chasers, all of this stuff would have been out years ago just about, like, our affiliation or how we're connected to certain situations. But we just be living life, so it don't really be phasing us to say, oh, we did this, or, we was there when this happened, or, we were the catalyst for this happening. We kind of just do what we do and then kind of fall back. And it's just funny as time progresses, looking back to see how everything kind of culminates and came together. And it's like, oh, okay, nah, we was there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got the receipts for it. And I think as things unfold, I may take my time to just talk about more instances like that, because as I'm looking at this, there are tons more stuff that kind of happen within, the space, whether it's media, whether it's, entertainment, that we were there for. And I got the footage footage or audio to confirm it and stuff like that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I might go down the rabbit hole. But that was an interesting take. It's just more so just my perspective. Hopefully they could figure it out. Hopefully my expert opinion, figures it out or learns how, can pivot off of the whole situation that they're undergoing. I want greatness for everybody in the space. I think, it's just better when everybody's good, man. People are going to bump heads because that's what happens when, great things meet. But, everybody should just push forward collectively and just try to put out the best product, the best art that they can put out. But, yeah, I was there, man. Yo, Dre, 80 piece, you know what I'm saying? Hip-hop Forrest Gump.